Hi, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about what it means when we have self-doubt and how they slip in and kind of trick your mind into thinking there's something when really it's something completely different. So if you're interested to learn more, keep on watching. Today I want to talk to you guys about what happens when we have a self-doubt that creeps in and we don't know where it comes from. And this is going to be from an experience that I had this week. I was actually speaking to one of you guys, and in that conversation, I was telling you about something that was happening with me, and I had this like funny feeling all of a sudden creep over me that felt like, why do I think that anybody cares about what I have to say about this subject? And it was weird because I've never felt any of these kind of diaries have been about being like self-interest. But in that moment, I felt like, why am I telling this person something about my experience? And why do I think that they even want to know about it? And so I continued on the conversation that we were having, but that flash happened and I kind of like stumbled inside my head for a minute about it. And then I let it go and I continued the conversation. And then later that night, I said to Richard, like, something happened to me today and I need you to tell me if I am self-obsessed. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, I mean, this whole year I've been doing these podcasts and sharing the journey, but is that am I self-obsessed to think that somebody actually cares to hear about this journey? And I said I have never had that feeling come over me up to this point, but right now I'm feeling that. Like I'm feeling a little confused of, am I sharing these things from that place, from that ego place? And he goes, well, it actually sounds like self-doubt. And I was like, oh, what? Because so the point is like the immediate feeling that I had while having the conversation was to put myself down and to be like, oh, you're being an egomaniac right now. Why do you think that she needs to hear your story? And it was weird because then when he said that, I had never thought of it that way. I thought of it more of, who do I think I am, right? And then he said that sounds like a way of self-doubting yourself. And I was like, I didn't think of it like that, but maybe, maybe and this hasn't come up yet. I mean, I have a zillion doubts about everything of being seen, but I never thought that I come from a place of ego, because to me this has been a humbling experience, if anything, because I'm sharing my whole life with you guys. So I never had that insight of, why do you think anybody cares about you? So I felt really kind of just like knocked down, and not knocked down in ego, more knocked down in purpose and in what is this about. And so I went into my Akashic records and asked the question and was curious just to know, why is this coming up now and what does it all mean? And the message that I got back was, first of all, that I'm in a holding pattern. All of the things that have been happening I think for me over the last few weeks have been all about energetic preparation for this ayahuasca retreat that I'm going on this next week. And so that was the first message. And then the second one, and I'm going to read it to you guys, so bear with me. When you turn your eye on the outside and look back, you become deceived by your own light because there is distortion. Because there is distortion in the field. The true place to find yourself and the answers is in your heart. And I was like, oh, I think I understand what happened. I outside of myself, having that conversation with the person and looking back from the outside in versus radiating from my heart space. And in that change of perspective, that distortion came in. And what they're saying is that when you look at yourself through another's eyes or through another's perspective, you aren't seeing the true you. You're seeing a distortion is brought in because it's not a direct, let's say even you guys seeing me and hearing my voice and hearing me, you pick up on it from a place that you're able to perceive. And I've heard people say that they enjoy hearing my voice. In my head, my voice, I don't like it at all, right? So, and I think that's most people. When you hear the sound of your voice, you're just like, it's like nails on the chalkboard. But you're picking up from it from your perspective, which in some cases people feel they relate to, right? But if I like listening to my voice on a podcast, it sounds like so distorted because it is. It's not real. It's me trying to take the view from the outside of me looking back in. And when you look back in from an outside perspective or a recording, you're getting the distorted view of what is actually happening. And if we can apply that lens to every self-doubt or self-criticism that we have on ourselves, they're basically saying that when that negative light comes in or that negative thought, it's not you. It's literally the distortion of you trying to view yourself from outside of yourself. And you'll never be able to understand you that way because it's not real. You can only find your true self and be in your true space of knowing exactly what you're giving out from your heart and radiate it out. So when I go back into, when Richard said that sounded like self-doubt, I was like, yeah, that is self-doubt. And then it brought me back into my body, which then brings me back into my intention, which then brings me back to this place of love. And therefore that mind trick of going outside of myself and looking back in is no longer in play, and that distortion field is no longer in play. So if we look at how do we view ourselves through the lenses of all the things, let's say in media or popular culture or what's normal, if you're viewing yourself through that lens, of course you're going to look not as good as, right? Or not pure, because you're not coming at it from your own heart space. You're coming at it through the lens of society or through the lens of someone that you want to emulate or be like. And it will never be the same. So let's say in this example of, let's say it's body dysmorphia. If you are viewing your body through this lens of somebody else's way that they look, even if you are the exact same size, you will never see yourself that way because there's going to be a distorted view of you. Because we cannot view ourselves in the purest way when you're outside of your own heart. And everything just kind of like clicked into place for me on that. And it was like, I get it. If we have any moments of these self-doubts come in, it's not real, but it's really not real in the sense of you're picking up feedback. You're picking up like in the same thing of me hearing my voice or probably even seeing me on YouTube, which is a whole nother thing. What I see is not what you guys pick up on because I'm getting the distorted view from me going outside and then coming back in. And basically the message was you can only be connected to the true source of your inspiration, of your gift, of your light emanating out. So let's let that sink in. Anytime that you are trying to see it from the outside, you'll never see it for what it really is. It can only be emanated out of you. And if you're, let's say, trying to, this can even be applied to marketing and getting more followers, and all of that is all a distortion. It has to emanate from you outwards and then draw in who resonates with that frequency. if we can try to follow like these prescriptive things, but it never is going to be seen that from that pure place of you, because you're trying to like do this U-turn, go out of your body and look back in on what would people like to see from me. That's not real. And you'll always give out then a distorted view of what actually you are. So yeah, think about that in all walks of your life. It could be your job, and like when I think even about my life in the corporate world, I was always trying to be what people wanted me to be, which then was never authentic because it was always a distorted view of what I thought others wanted this body to be. And now, I mean, even if I bring it back to that point, it's like, of course I wasn't able to be me. I was never looking from the inside going out. I was always looking at what can I do to fit in, you know? So then in the Akashic Records, we're saying that because it all comes from the heart space, it is so important for us to nurture that space. And so then it's weird because right away I dropped the pen, because I channel that way with automatic writing. And so I dropped the pen and I decided I'm going to take a bath. And I hadn't taken a bath, I think, since the winter solstice, which it is a practice that, yes, we should do all the time, but it's always like one of those things of when do you have time to nurture yourself? And so I was like, now is the time. So I went upstairs and I got ready, got in the bath, and I put, the salts and some rose oil and some sage oil, lit candles. And then I got another message, and it was the reason that the bath is good for us and our soul and in our heart is because it emanates or mimics what it feels like for our soul to be in the between life state. And I've been in that space twice now in my hypnosis sessions, but essentially it feels like you're in this like gelatinous soup that feels like even temperature. It's not warm, it's not cold, it's just even, but it almost like it nurtures you like the bath water does. It's like holding you in that embrace, and it also is mimicking the womb space. And so the message that I got then was the reason that this is important for your nurturing of yourself is that it literally brings your soul back into this embrace of I have you. You are still in a safe, secure body, in a safe, secure womb space. Because essentially, I mean, sometimes I've referred to the body as the skin suit or the meat suit. You're basically trying to tell your higher self and your soul that you're holding and you're nurturing that part of you. And in this mimicking in the sense of a bath, it's like a warm hug and a warm embrace of that part of yourself. So whenever you're feeling this kind of disconnect, right? Like in that case, in that moment where I jumped outside of my body to look back in at what was happening in that second, it means that my mind consciousness was pulling it outside of this vessel, this vehicle. And in a way, when you do that, you're rejecting this part of yourself. So all of it is to say, come back in alignment with the heart and nurture the heart space from these places of something as simple as taking a bath. It's grounding you into the body, and it's like triggering your soul to stay inside the heart versus getting tricked in those little moments to go outside of your construct to see yourself from a distorted view. So I hope that all makes sense, and I hope that it's helpful for you guys, because it felt like such a good lesson for me. Especially, and I felt this too, is that it's happening during the Pisces season, which is all about nurturing and loving yourself and being in that like meditative, calm, like kind of secure womb space. It's where we nurture, where we are, where we feed our soul. And I felt like so emotional when I had that moment, right? And I didn't understand why I would ever, because I always believe that I'm from the purest heart place. So why would my mind even trick me to think that I could be self-obsessed? You know, if anything, I don't want it to be about me. But I think it was the perfect moment for me to understand what it means to nurture that soul in your body and make you feel safe in this incarnation and in this life. Now, another thing I wanted to share with you guys this week is when I think it was last week when I started doing some research after my hypnosis session about the Mu civilization. I searched on YouTube and I happened upon an amazing channel, and I want to share it with you guys. I mean, she may be somebody that everybody knows about, and she never came up in my, suggested people to watch, but she's had a YouTube channel since 2012, and basically anything metaphysical, esoteric, mystical. She has covered every subject that you could ever think of, and she goes really deep diving into so many things. And so it's like a place that I have found, obviously, that's free content. It's amazing. She's coming from a pure heart, and she's using her gifts to share what is, and I always feel like, I've had people say that I should do interviews with people, and I'm not there yet. I mean, I don't know if that will be where this evolves, but I always have felt like this podcast and now this YouTube channel has been about my journey and the experiences and how it's helping me develop, which I have always felt like interviewing people it's being done, and it's being done amazingly. So why would we need another channel of that? But I also, when I come across people that have this purest intent and the purest drive, I always share it with you, and I always have. And so her name is Gigi Young, and it's spelled Gigi Young, and she's based out of Canada. She is a beautiful light, and I will link down below a couple of the episodes that I think are really cool, but all of them are. I mean, she's had the channel since 2012, so I mean, there's so much content there. And basically anything that you could ever have a question about, it's there. So like last night, I listened to one, or I watched one about how to connect to your clairvoyancy. And she gave like some very specific tools and tips on how to open your pineal gland and how to start this process, and how it's not even how she says. I'm not teaching it. Of all of my studies, this is what I've learned that they used to do in ancient times. So it's just, there's so many amazing nuggets of learning that can be done on her channel, and I just want to share that with you guys because it's been interesting. And I think that's all I have for today, and I really hope you're doing well, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.